Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharal, and the title of today's Shabbat sermon is Trumpets of Destruction or Deliverance. Trumpets of Destruction or Deliverance. And we're picking up from our Bible study where we went over the seventh month. We have Feast of Trumpets getting ready to start, which is the first day of the seventh month. And the trumpets have a very significant theme throughout the deliverance of Yasharal, as well as the destruction of anybody that's an enemy of Yahweh. So what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit more into trumpets, understanding about the trumpets. Won't be as much focusing on the holy day of trumpets, but the significance of trumpets and some of the significance of the trumpets in the Feast of Trumpets. So let's open up in Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 10. And again, the title of today's Shabbat sermon is Trumpets of Destruction or Deliverance. And we're going to open up in Numbers chapter 10, Bamidbar chapter 10, and we're going to read verses 1 through 10. Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 10, and we're reading verses 1 through 10. Go ahead, bro.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Make you 2 trumpets of silver, of a whole piece shall you make them, that you may use them for the calling of the assembly and for the journeying of the camps. And when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to you at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, so it says, make you 2 trumpets of silver, of a whole piece shall you make them. So what you have to look again is when you're reading and you're studying this word, you got to make sure that you're trying to get down to the least common denominator, which would be, you know, the original Hebrew word that was there. The original words that were given. Shabbat Shalom. Sorry about that. We had the phone on mute. We're in Numbers chapter 10. And we're reading verses 1 through 10. And what we're talking about now is the meaning of the word trumpets that was used here. Because there were several Hebrew words that they translated the trumpets. So the word used here in Numbers chapter 10, in verses 1 through 10, is H2689. Hat-ser-serah. Hat-ser-serah, which is spelled C-H-A-T-S-O-T-S-E-R-A-H. Hat-serah, which is basically, by reduplication from H2690, a trumpet from its sundering or quavering note, trumpet or trumpeter. And they're talking about here making these trumpets out of silver. Now we know that we also have the shofar, which is also translated to trumpet. So you got to look at the Hebrew word and see which one are they referring to, because they have different usages. Go ahead and continue, bro.
Verse 4. And if they blow but with 1 trumpet, then the princes which are heads of the thousands of Yasharal shall gather themselves unto you. When you blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east part shall go forward. When you blow an alarm the second time, the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, you shall blow, but you shall not sound an alarm. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations.
So the trumpets speak. They have a voice. And the trumpets give off a signal to let the children of Yasharal know how they need to move. But if you don't follow instructions, then the trumpet means absolutely nothing to you. In certain instances, is to gather the princes. Other instances is supposed to gather the children to go to war. And it tells which camps are to go out. And if the war is coming from, or the attack is coming from a certain angle, then the general or the leader wants specific groups to go out and attack at certain times. And the trumpets give off that signal, and you're supposed to know this and know when it's time for you to go or when it's time for you to stay, or to assemble your men to go to war, or just the leaders to go up. And these are talking about these trumpets that are made out of silver, and it also says the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. So it's supposed to be the sons of Aaron, which are the high priests. They're the ones that are supposed to be blowing these trumpets.
Brother?
Go ahead.
Also, I just wanted to add, when you said the east side forward, those are, as Judah. Mm-hmm. Judah's the first one that, when the horns is going to leave, they roll first. I wanted to make sure that people, knew that. It was a little piece of information, that's all. But it tells you that in Numbers 2, in chapter 3. I mean, chapter 2, verse 3.
Right. And what my brother was just explaining is that the eastern parts that go forward first, that's the tribe of Yehuda. Tribe of Yehuda was the eastern camp.
And I guess we can add as well that, we know Yahweh is an Elohim of order. Although Yehuda isn't the firstborn of Jacob, he's still in that order, for war or whatever order that Yahweh has set up. So if he has 12 tribes, but if he says Yehuda shall go first, whatever is last doesn't mean it's it's the least it's the least tribe. It just means that he has a specific order for it. The foot and the head need each other. The fingernail and the nose still need each other.
Right.
Also on that same point, brother, they talk about Judah is the kingly tribe, and then you have Levi, the priestly tribe, and then Benjamin, the warriors, and the rest of them, I forgot what they were supposed to be, but you're correct on that. Yahweh has an order, because if he wants his kings to go first, to lead, then he wants his priests to be tucked between the kings and the military, that he has the fighters of Benjamin. Then the priest would also advise the king what's going on, because it's supposed to be do Yahweh's business.
Right.
So and he does have an order to it. Correct.
Right. And the Levites, they don't have an inheritance, so they don't have a east or southern or northern. They're everywhere, and the Levites actually go first. They go in front and they blow the shofars or the horn, the trumpets, and they go out front. But the eastern camp goes first for that same reason. The kingly tribe, the royal tribe, they go first, and that's why it was a part of the situation with King Dawid. When he was supposed to be out at war, he was at home. And that's when he got in his trouble, because Yahweh made this order for a reason. All right, go ahead and finish, brother.
Verse 9. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresses you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
So it's also for celebration as well. All these are celebration days. In the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow these trumpets. So these are your days of gladness. This is when you're supposed to be having joy. You're not supposed to be depressed on the Shabbat. You're supposed to be enjoying that. There's one day that you're supposed to be afflicted in your soul and in your spirit, but that is not every Shabbat. So let's move on. Let's go to Psalms chapter 81. Tehillim chapter 81. Go ahead, bro.
Sing aloud unto Elohim, our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the Elohim of Yaakov. Take a psalm and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery. Blow up the trumpet in the new month, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Yasharal and a law of the Elohim of Yaakov.
So he's referring to the law that we just read in Numbers 10, and I believe it was verse 10, that these are the statutes forever, that we're supposed to blow these trumpets, not only when we go into war, but also so that Yahweh can get his remembrance on the good times as well. Not just, hey, we need you. The only time he call you is when we need you. No, we also celebrating you. We worshiping you. We calling your name in remembrance of you, who you are, on those days as well. And that's a statute. Just like these days of celebration, that is Yahweh's holy days. We quick to celebrate every other thing under the sun, except for the days that he commanded us to celebrate. Mm. So he's telling us to celebrate and commanding us to celebrate, and we can't even follow that. How are we going to follow the other things like the trumpets of war? Of this camp goes out, this camp goes out, this camp goes out, or the princes need to come forward to get instruction for the rest of the camps. You're not going to follow that if you can't follow when to party, when to rest, when to enjoy. That's the easy part. And if you can't follow that, how is he going to use you as a servant, as an instrument of war, as his battle axe? He can't use you.
It reminds me also of the Bible that we had where, when they were walking around Jericho, everyone keeps silent. Don't use your voice for anything. Will you be obedient then? So Elohim that says he desires obedience more than sacrifice.
Right. This whole thing the whole book is full of instruction. Now, just because you don't understand the instruction of why you're supposed to be doing it doesn't mean that you can't follow the instruction. And that's what people always want. They always want to understand why they're doing the commandment of Yahweh before they will do the commandment. No, follow the commandment, and that's your faith, that's your trust, that I know that this Elohim is the Elohim of the living. He's going to give me things that are going to cause me life. I'm going to follow that, and in that obedience, that's when he gives you that understanding of why to do that. So you can now teach other people how to be more obedient. But why would he give you that if you wouldn't even follow the instruction? So you have to be on the same level of Yahweh, of understanding why and what is and why we're supposed to do something before you do it. Then you a mighty one. Then you're not worshiping.
That reminds me too. You brought up a good point. That's part of the glory of the new covenant, where he says, "I will put a new spirit within them. I'm going to write my law on their hearts," so that you just do things out of obedience because you love Yahweh. Just not, I think it's the right thing to do, or let me not make this angry God angry. So he can smite me. You're doing it now out of love, and then the wages of sin can be put to the side. The law that was against you is now for you.
Right. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 5. This he ordained in Yosef for a testimony when he went out through the land of Mizraim, Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. I removed his shoulder from the burden, his hands were delivered from the pots. You called in trouble, and I delivered you. I answered you in the secret place of thunder. I proved you at the waters of Meribah, Selah. Hear, O my people, and I will testify unto you, O Yasharal. If you will hearken unto me, there shall no strange awe be in you, neither shall you worship any strange awe. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Mizraim. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it. But my people will not hearken to my voice, and Yasharal will have none of me. So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels.
So he gave them up to their own hearts and lust. And this same situation happens to this day in this book. He will give you up to your own lust, to your own heart's desire. So whatever wickedness that you want to do, you can get in this book and you can justify it. You can find somebody who did it. You can find some kind of commandment that was out of place, that is not for this time, or some kind of prophecy that's supposed to be for the future, and you can justify it and use this book to justify whatever wickedness you want, and Yahweh will leave you. He'll leave you just like that. Okay, that's what you want to do. Your heart is set on disobedience. Your heart is set on you being your own God. Then go ahead. Do what you need to do. But there's going to be a chastening that comes with that. And if you're going to accept that chastening, then you will be a child. If not, you could be a bastard. He'll leave you alone. Go ahead, brother.
I wanted to add to that also when you mentioned that verse, you know, with information about lead you unto your own lust. I mean, he also talked about that not only in the schoolmaster Torah, he also talked about that in Romans. You know, and he says in Romans chapter 1, and he's dealing with the whole chapter and dealing with basically homosexuality, you know, and then he goes down further on, but not just that, but fornicators, if you go to 29, he'll continue to go on, but what he's talking about, but he said he gave 26 for this cause, Elohim gave them up unto their vile affections, you know, for even their women to change their natural use until that which is against nature. And you're talking about men and so forth because they wish to worship the creature rather than the creator. Right. You know, so if they wish to do those things, people don't realize that sooner or later Yahweh is going to seal that conscience, where you won't be able to change. Right. You won't be able to stop doing the things that you're doing. So people don't realize that you want to continue to do those things, but you don't know how long you should live on this earth, and then what? You've already been judged. Right. You know, so this is what people need to understand. It's not just to be how to deal with the situation of homosexuality. It's deal with all these type of situations when you just worship other gods. Right. You know, so I wanted to bring that point up. Right, and great point. You take it back even further and go into the Torah, he talks about that. I gave the stars and the hosts of heaven, I gave that to the nations. That's right. So they can worship all that stuff. These things are supposed to be servants just like you. Just like when the angel came and the angel said, hey, don't worship me. I'm in Revelation. Don't worship me. I'm a servant just like you. I'm one of your brothers. Get up. Well, the sun and the moon can't do that. They got to continue doing their stuff. They don't have that spirit to come down here and talk to us like that. So Yahweh said, fine. You want to take these things that are supposed to be servants just like you, that are supposed to be signs for you so that you could be aligned with these heavenly tablets? Then fine, go ahead. Leave them. Go ahead and worship. I'll let these angels come down here and tell y'all a bunch of crap. And y'all can follow it. Enoch goes into a lot of that, how the angels came down and infected man. That's right. And that's how they slept with man. When they put that spirit into that man, that spirit of disobedience, the same thing that happened in the garden. And Yahweh will stand back. He'll chasten you, but you say you don't want to take the chastening, he'll stand back. He'll leave you. Go ahead and finish it out, brother.
Verse 13. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Yasharal had walked in my ways. I should soon have subdued their enemies, and turned my hand against their adversaries. The haters of Yahweh should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied you.
All right, now, if we look at the trumpet here, that's used in Psalms 81, and that will be in verse 3. Now they're using shofar, H7782, shofar, spelled S-H-O-P-H-A-R, which is from H8231 in the original sense of incising a cornet as giving a clear sound or curved horn, cornet, trumpet. And if you take that and you go into, I think, Joshua chapter 6, where it talks about that, it says, make you a shofar out of the ram's horn. So this is a different shofar that they're talking about here. All right, now let's go move on to Leviticus chapter 23. Wayakra chapter 25, excuse me. Leviticus chapter 25.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say to them, When you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto Yahweh. 6 years you shall sow your field, and 6 years you shall prune your vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for Yahweh. You shall neither sow your field, nor prune your vineyard. That which grows of its own accord of your harvest you shall not reap, neither gather the grapes of your vine undressed. For it is a year of rest unto the land, and the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you and for your servant, and for your maid, and for your hired servant, and for your stranger that sojourns with you, and for your cattle, and for the beasts that are in your land, that all the increase thereof be meat.
So even the land gets a Sabbath. It gets a rest. Now man has decided that he doesn't want to let that land rest because he wants more money. So they try to rotate crops and do all kind of things to get things moving. But at the end of the day, that is there for a reason, and too, just to allow the land and the nutrients in the soil to replenish and to grow. And it's also a sign of obedience unto Yahweh that, hey, look, I own this land. You gave me this land, but I own it. And I can do with it as I please, but I'm not going to, because I'm acknowledging that you are the creator, that you are in control, that I serve you, and I'm not going to do that. Your boss tells you you're not working over 40 hours because he got to pay you overtime, and you decide, I'm just going to go work over 40 hours. Either you're not going to get paid for it, or you're going to get fired because you're not following your instructions. You don't own this company. You don't make those decisions. You do what your master tells you to do. Mr. That's what we call him. Mr. Brown, Mr. Jones, Mr. whatever. Comes from master. Same thing. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. And you shall number 7 Sabbaths of years unto you, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto you 49 years. Then shall you cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, in the day of atonement. And you shall make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. And you shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you. And you shall return every man unto his possession, and you shall return every man unto his family.
So you have this jubilee, and on the 49th year, you're supposed to sound that trumpet in the 7th month on the 10th day, which is the Day of Atonement. And what you have now is you have the Jewish people and the African Israelites or whatever that are over there in the land now that are just in bed with the same Ashkenazi. They're claiming that this is the Jubilee year, that this is the year of release. And they're calling everybody down there, and they're doing this and doing that, and it lines up with their blood moons that they see, and the fact that they're already having atonement on the wrong day, so you're not following instructions. But that's what they're calling. But how will we know this? Especially, how do they know this when they came in the land in 1948? How do they know this? Mm-hmm. Who gave them that instruction? Go ahead.
Verse 11.
Still at war.
Oh, and also you look at the trumpet, exactly. They're still at war. They have no peace. The trumpet that they're using here, again, is the shofar. You will blow that shofar. Go ahead.
Verse 11. A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. You shall not sow, neither reap that which grows of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of the vine undressed. For it is a jubilee, it shall be holy unto you. You shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. In the year of this jubilee you shall return every man unto his possession. And if you sell anything unto your neighbor, or buy anything of your neighbor's hand, you shall not oppress one another. According to the number of years after the jubilee you shall buy of your neighbor, and according unto the number of years of the fruits he shall sell unto you. According to the multitude of years you shall increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years you shall diminish the price of it. For according to the number of years of the fruits does he sell unto you.
So you see where depreciation comes into fact, or compensating somebody. Oh, this righteousness comes here in this book, comes out of here. The other nations got that stuff from our laws and enacted it in an original attempt to be righteous, and then decide, you know what, I like this to work in my benefit, but not for somebody else. So now we have all these clauses and statutes and different changes to the law, so that basically they can benefit and you can't.
Not cheat your brother.
Right. That's the way it was designed originally, was to not cheat your brother. But they have taken this law and used the pieces that they like and created ways to cheat their brother. Go ahead.
So brother, to clarify, are they saying that the height, or the price, the height of the price of the work, how much something costs depends on how near or how far you are to each Jubilee?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Because you can't sell something to somebody for full price in Jubilees next year, and then they're like, well, how you going to charge me that price? You know, next year I'm going to have to get this back to you. I don't even have the full 7 years. So they have to decrease it or increase it or change it, whatever.
All right, so verse 16, it says here, according to the multitude of years, you shall increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years, you shall diminish the price thereof. So it seems like at the Jubilee and years after Jubilee, everything is cheap. But as many years are after, like if it's the 30th year, things start getting a little more expensive. And then I think it seems like
it would be more expensive up front, and then it would be cheaper towards the end. Because you have 7 years of usage, like a lease. You get, if you sublease from somebody or whatever, if you look at the whole amount that whole lease covers for, say it's a 7-year lease, and it's $10,000. It's $10,000 that first day because you got a full seven years. But you get down to that last year of that lease and you want to sublease to somebody, they're not going to pay you the $10,000.
Okay.
You know, because they're getting it the same. They can't buy it the same price you got it because there's only 1 year left, and they're gonna have to turn back.
Okay. So verse 15 saying, according to the number of years after the Jubilee, you shall buy of your neighbor. So the price hike or depreciation depends on how many years have progressed after
the Jubilee. Right.
So according to the multitude of years, you shall increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years, you shall diminish the price of it.
Right.
Okay, I guess we can revisit that.
Right.
All right, verse 17. You shall not therefore oppress one another, but you shall fear your Elohim, for I am Yahweh your Elohim. Wherefore you shall do my statutes, and keep my judgments, and do them, and you shall dwell in the land in safety. And the land shall yield her fruit, and you shall eat your fill, and dwell therein in safety. And if you shall say, what shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, we shall not sow nor gather in our increase. Then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. And you shall sow in the 8th year, and eat yet of old fruit until the 9th year. Until her fruits come in, you shall eat of the old store.
So you have to have faith. Yeah. You'd have to acknowledge that Yahweh is in control of this, that He decides whether your crops get rain and all this type of things. But we have lost all faith in Yahweh, and we say, well, we're gonna make sure that things get done. We're gonna make sure that we get our increase that we want. And whatever increase we get at that point, then you did that. Because you made sure. That's why in anything, especially around the Sabbath day or Jubilees or anything involving Yahweh saying you're going to have to wait and wait on Him to do what He needs to do, those are the times you don't want to try to find any legal loophole to try to do something for yourself. Because basically you're just like an adult talking to his child. And the child, I got it, I do it. All right, you got it? All right. I already know how it's going to turn out. Because you can't even do it properly yet because you're a child. There's certain things you don't even have the authority to do yet until you become an adult. Well, go ahead. And then when you get the little half messed up looking thing or whatever that you worried why it didn't come out, then now maybe you'll listen. Go ahead, bro.
I believe there's this deeper explanation to teach His children further what Yahweh expects of them also came from when in the beginning with the manna. Because he told them, you know, you have this many days.
Right.
You take manna that day, I'll give it to you. You know what I mean? You don't have to collect more than what you need.
Right.
It's going to rot on you. You can't keep it till the next day, but yet before the Sabbath, you come and give you 2 portions.
Right.
So you don't have to cook and prepare and collect and do work on the Sabbath. So that, even though it's on a small level to what we're dealing with here, it teaches them trust on Yahweh, because He will provide for you. He has it. He's trying to get you comfortable to understand what His will is, and that He will take care of you, and not to panic that you need more. You know what I mean? So that's that concept right there.
Exactly. The 6th day. On that 6th day, you got twice as much. Twice as much, so that, you know, on the 7th day, you eat. You ate for the 6th day and you ate for the 7th day. And it didn't spoil. But like my brother said, you tried that on Monday, it was a done deal. It was spoiled.
Yeah.
So it's basically getting you to trust Yahweh, to have faith in His ability to deliver for you, but it's also to test your obedience. Like, I want to bless you, but I want to see you obedient first. I'm not just going to give it to you.
Brother, and also, when you fast, you're starving yourself, right? And that impresses upon the Spirit of Yahweh, something's going on with my servant, which is why he is more inclined to your prayer. So if you're going to wait during that 7th year not to reap, why would he relinquish his promise to bring forth an even greater harvest that next year so that he could meet your need? You know, that's the type of Elohim that he is. If he's hungry, he's going to feed the hungry, and he's going to clothe the naked, or wherever it might be. So if you're fasting on the Day of Atonement, he hears you. So if you're in a year that you're old or you're afflicted, you're like, no, I have to be there for my people. Even if you were in error, still, I have to be there for my people because they did this in error. Let me make up for them and then try to lead them into the right way. Because he's our Elohim, he's our Father. He can give us good gifts.
Exactly. And that was so important that the heathen decided to remove that out of the Bible in the newer versions of the fasting and prayer. When Yeshua said, but this one right here is going to take fasting and prayer. And they removed that out the new international version in the ESV version and all that. They literally removed that verse because they said, no. We can do anything for you that you need. Just give us your money. All that fasting and prayer, don't worry about all that. That was the old New Testament. This is the New Testament. The New Testament, and you don't need that. Father such and such, the Pope, whatever, they can do that for you. You don't have to fast, afflict yourself, and pray and wait for deliverance. Just go to Him. He can do it for you. So that lets you know how important that concept of fasting and waiting to be delivered by your Father is.
Verse 23. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine. For you are strangers and sojourners with me.
How are you going to sell something that don't belong to you? Now you look at what's going on right now. They fighting over land with Palestine and Israel and all that. They selling this land and giving this land, selling a seat for in David's place to Europe and all that. You don't own this stuff. Even we couldn't do that, much less these people that are not from here. Go ahead.
Verse 24. And in all the land of your possession you shall grant a redemption for the land. If your brother be waxen poor and has sold away some of his possession, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. And if the man have none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it, then let him count the years of the sale thereof, and restore the overplus unto the man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession. But if he be not able to restore it to him, then let that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that has bought it until the year of Jubilee. And in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold. Within a full year may he redeem it. But if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it throughout his generations. It shall not go out in the Jubilee.
So Yahweh created a way for, hey, listen, everybody has to be responsible for their own. So you have certain property or fenced land or whatever the case may be, and okay, you fall on hard times. That's not for your brother to take advantage of you and say, well, hey, I know you need to feed your family, give it to me, and then you never get it back. No, he had an opportunity. Okay, you had a hard time, well, you had a whole year to try to get yourself together, to try to redeem it, this, that, and the other, try to be ready for the Jubilee or whatever the case may be. You had that time. But if somebody's not going to take advantage of you because you doing what you're supposed to do, and you help the brother out and you get the land, that's all he has for collateral, and this person just say, oh, I know what, Jubilee, I'm going to get it back, and I ain't got to give him no money, I ain't got to do nothing. No, it don't work that way. You have to do what you need to do. And how they made their money was the land, you know, with the sheeps and the oxen and the husbandry and all that type of stuff. And Yahweh has a big hand in that. So if Yahweh didn't want somebody to have something, he'll cut off your rain, cut off your production, thorns and thistles, all these type of things. And make you work hard to try to get what belongs to you. So there was a fair system in place. It wasn't meant for anybody to take advantage of anybody, but both ways, the buyer or the seller. Go ahead.
Verse 31. But the houses of the villages which have no wall round about them shall be counted as the fields of the country. They may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the Jubilee. Notwithstanding, the cities of the Levites and the houses of the cities of their possession may the Levites redeem at any time. And if a man purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold and the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee. For the houses of the cities of the Levites are their possession among the children of Yasharal. But the field of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession. And if your brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with you, then you shall relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with you. Take you no usury of him, or increase, but fear your Elohim, that your brother may live with you. You shall not give him your money upon usury, nor lend him your victuals for increase. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you forth out of the land of Mizraim to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your Elohim.
So you're supposed to carry your brother's burdens. You're supposed to help each other and not try to take advantage again of your brother that is down. Help him. But at the same time, Yahweh also says that I would not be mocked. Every man must carry his own burden. So when he has help from his brother, but when he gets back on his feet, he got to restore. But not with usury. Because then that's business now. Then you did it for your own benefit. You did it for an increase. You didn't do it out of the goodness of your heart, saying, no, Yahweh is going to reward me. No, I'm doing it so I can reward myself. Go ahead.
Brother, reading this, I can see that, understanding of the Jubilee is part of the love that the law is, that's in Torah, that the law is love. This whole Jubilee is about restoration. It's about replenishment. Everything that the Sabbath is, to be restored. That your spirit may be refreshed on the Sabbath. This Jubilee is just like that. So I think knowledge of the Jubilee is important. I don't know why the churches don't teach how important that is, because then you understand, because it's such a big part of the law, and you understand that it's all about restoration. It's all about refreshment. Yahweh always makes a way for a man who has fallen in a hard time to be restored to him, that you could fix, or you could do better, or be restored.
This country or this place doesn't want to have any kind of discussion regarding restoration or jubilee or reparation or anything of that sort, because then you'd have to admit you remove these people from their place or their place of their last captivity, and you have not returned them. And you have given reparation to everybody else except for the people that built your country. You've done everybody wrong, but you paid them back. But the people you did wrong and the people that you benefited from, you have not given them anything. You got something, brother?
Yeah, but I just wanted to add something else. What you think about that, what 40 acres and a view was about? You brothers free, you use them, you destroy them, you did all kind of things to them, and this law states that if you, break your brother's teeth or you lame him, he's free. he's not a slave anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but this country decided to try and keep slaves forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that 40 acres and mule, who you know got 40 acres and a mule? You wasn't a slave anymore. You're supposed to have, like they say, in here, when you were a slave or indentured servant for 7 years, once that 7 years is up, you're supposed to bless that brother, give him increase when he leaves that 7 years because he did his job. He's supposed to come out with substance.
Right.
But the brothers in this country didn't come out with substance. They abused them to the max. So every other country that we've conquered or fought with or want to make deals with, they have benefited greatly. As the scripture says, they will come from other countries and become over us. They will lend to us, we will not be able to lend to them. Anything that they need, the government supplies. Give it to them, give them a chance. But our people do not have that same benefit, you know, because we are under that curse, you know. But still, that's where that stuff comes from. We haven't received that blessing, bro. So that's why you see all this love and jubilee. Benefiting your brother, benefiting yourself by loving your brother, teaching you how to love, and respecting the earth, giving Yahweh what He has given to us, but we give Him honor because we understand He's teaching us. Don't injure your brother. If your brother falls on the ground, you help him up. Like if I fall on the ground, who's gonna help me up? Right. You know, you don't step on your brother. So all these laws, you can kind of basically as laws because this is respect.
Yes.
You know?
To the utmost.
Yeah.
To simplify everything, all Yahweh is trying to do is teach man how to store his treasure in heaven.
Right.
So that he can get paid. So Yahweh can bless. He wants to bless his children. But he says, okay, you have to put yourself in a position where you're owed something. You're owed something. So now you're owed something. Yahweh is not a respected person. You're going to get paid for what you owe. Just like this Jubilee is set up, everybody's going to get paid what they're owed. But he doesn't want you to be paid in a manner that takes away you being owed something from Yahweh. Because if you take care of everything amongst yourselves and you make sure that when you do the good deed that you're benefiting from doing that good deed, then now, okay, you're paid. You're good. The books is closed. Everything is even. And you wanted this little payment that's going to deteriorate in a few years. When I could have gave you this payment that would last you forever. So he's saying, all right, the obedient ones are going to receive this. They're going to receive it, and they may not understand it up front, but over the years they see, look where I'm at now. This was my reward. Look at my understanding. Look at my ability to be obedient. Wow, this was my payment. And then they grasp that concept, and they can help other people and teach people. But the man that is just materialistic and just wants everything now, he's not going to get that. He's going to get that money, and as soon as he gets that, he's in a problem, and he's trying to borrow from somebody. Go ahead, bro.
Also, the other portion of that concept is Yahweh always is showing his people, you always come back to me. Because if you think you can do everything on your own, I guess you feel you don't need me. But the problem is that where you get your rain from? If I decide it's not going to rain in your land, you're not going to get that increase, that rain or that latter rain. Because now you serving yourself.
Right.
So he's teaching people over and over, it's not to serve yourself, it's to serve your brother, and your brother's going to serve you. Right. You know, Yeshua said the teacher's no great, the master's no greater than the servant.
The greatest of them all shall be servant to them all.
Yeah, to be servant to them all. So he's trying to teach you that concept in the Torah, so you will understand when it comes down the pike, when Yeshua, his son's come, you know?
Right.
So it has so much benefit that we haven't even tapped yet.
Right. Well, me kind of sound like a real elder right now. Right? but if I could even go into how this Jubilee makes everything that the Euro Gentile has done to Yasharal look even worse, because it says they're taking crafty counsel against them. Taking every Gentile, whether it be Ham, whether it be Yafet, they have, or whoever of Shem had a hand in delivering the children of Yasharal onto their oppressors. Every nation had a hand in it. And then, Brother Mikhail brought up, if you break his tooth or lame your slave, you shall let him go free. How many teeth have they broken of ours?
You've broken a whole nation. You have broken an identity.
How many of us lame?
Right.
You know, how many jubilees have passed to where we haven't been restored? This is iniquity, top to bottom. They violated every law that came to us.
Talking about putting out somebody's eye. Well, if you can't see because you have no clue, that's removing your eye. And our eyes were removed because we have lost complete sight. We have absolutely no idea who we are as a people. Spiritual sight gone. You caused that because you pulled it away. Now, they physically caused that, but the spiritual cause of that was us.
Yeah.
But they physically caused that, just like with the snake that physically caused Eve to be tricked. But it was that spirit behind it that did it. But that snake got punished. That snake got a slither from now on. It has no legs. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 39. And if your brother that dwells by you be waxen poor and be sold unto you, you shall not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as a hired servant. And as a sojourner he shall be with you, and shall serve you unto the year of Jubilee.
You're not supposed to turn your brethren into a slave. No, that's not. He can be a hired servant, but he's not supposed to be treated less than your family because he's in a bad situation.
Wow. Verse 41. And then shall he depart from you, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possession of his father shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Mizraim. They shall not be sold as bondmen.
Because you can't. We belong to Yahweh. How am I gonna go into my boss's job and start selling stuff for myself out of the stock? I'm going to jail. You can't do that. But if somebody in there, I do something for one of my other co-workers out, off the books, then they can come work for me and do some work for me. Like, hey, look, I know you repair stuff, but hey, my TV at home needs repair. Take it home with you and go ahead and fix it. That's different. That's my stuff now. He a hired servant. He ain't a slave.
That's right.
So we weren't supposed to treat our people like that. Go ahead.
Verse 43. You shall not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear your Elohim. And
that verse 43 is very, very important to anybody who's a manager. Anybody who's a manager in the field, you manage Israel, you better be careful. You can walk as righteous as you want, but then when it comes down to this dollar for this white man, and you rule it in rigor because that's what the white man wants you to do. He wants you to be a taskmaster, and he wants you to be doing that. You can't do that for the money. You got to be extra careful in managing Israel, because if he pray unto Yahweh seeing you oppressing him, that's your behind. And you can't separate and say, well, we not in the congregation. This is out in the world. No, you still dealing. You a priest. You can't do that. So in a lot of situations where I had to fire my own people, I had to pray about it. I had to really sit down and pray, and Yahweh, please give me clear vision. Do not cause me to be an oppressor of my own people, for my own benefit, for my own family. And at the end of the day, I slept like a baby. Every single employee I fired, because I worked with them, whether they was our brethren or not. I worked with them, gave them the opportunity, did everything, and it was their decision whether or not they're going to get fired, because they had a recourse, just like in this book. There's a recompense. There's a way to restore everything in here. So I give the person that same opportunity, and when they don't do it, they put the judgment on themselves. Go ahead, brother.
There's one thing you said just now, brother, that compares to what Scripture's talking about. That Yahweh said, if you judge yourself, we don't have to judge you. And that's very important. But how are you going to judge yourself if we're not learning what's in here? Right. And that's the thing. We all fall short. We all fall down, all do stupid things. But consistently being in this Scripture and trying to learn it correctly, we can apply it to our lives, and make sure that we make mistakes, we go repent, we go say we're sorry, we try to change the attitude that we had before. Some things takes longer because it's so ingrained in us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not everybody's the same way. But just like you said, you tried, you went and prayed because you didn't want to make a mistake. You didn't want to injure your brother because you're honoring Yahweh. So praise Yahweh. You know what I mean? That He is teaching us. We all learning. So praise Yahweh on that level.
Praise Yahweh.
I had looked up that word, rigor, of verse 46. It's H65:31.
Hold on.
What verse was that?
This is from verse
51?
Verse 46.
Okay.
Leviticus 25:46.
Rigor. Okay, go ahead.
65:31, and it's from the
Perek.
Yeah, perek, from an unused root, meaning to break apart, fracture, i.e., severity, cruelty, rigor.
All right, and that rigor, rule over, also applies to in the congregation, in the assembly. When you're a leader and you're dealing with other servants, you're not supposed to fracture them, break their spirit down, break their ability to do the job that they were given because of your cruelty.
Oh, right.
There's going to be recompense for that.
That's right.
And if you are acting in that manner, it's because you don't fear Yahweh.
From love.
You don't fear Him. If you fear Him, you say, well, look, first of all, I love Yahweh for what He's done for me because I'm not worthy. So I would never put myself in a favor where He can't show me love when He obviously loves me because I'm messing up and He's still showing me love. So I can't reward Him for His kindness and His mercy by being wicked and forcing Him to not be able to love me. And then second of all, I fear Yahweh. I know, I believe Him. He said that if His people cry out to Him, He's going to hear them when they're in their righteousness. And He's not going to be a respecter of persons. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 47. And if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by you, and your brother that dwells by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by you, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him, either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is near of kin unto him of his family may redeem him, or if he be able, he may redeem himself. And he shall reckon with him that bought him from the year that he was sold to him unto the year of Jubilee. And the price of his sale shall be according unto the number of years, according to the time of a hired servant shall it be with him. If there be yet many years behind, according unto them he shall give again the price of his redemption out of the money that he was bought for. And if there remain but few years unto the year of Jubilee, then he shall count with him, and according unto his years shall he give him again the price of his redemption. And as a yearly hired servant shall he be with him, and the other shall not rule with rigor over him in your sight. And if he be not redeemed in these years, then he shall go out in the year of Jubilee, both he and his children with him. For unto me the children of Yasharal are servants. They are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
So it's Yahweh's servants. That's His workers. If you afflict one of my workers at my job, I'm coming for you. They're my responsibility. My boss gonna tell me how you let these employees, this client, talk to your salesperson that way, or talk to my technician. That's what you there for. You in charge. So you think that you're gonna afflict Yahweh's servants and it's gonna be all right with you? It's not gonna be all right with you. It's not all right to afflict anybody, but much less the servants. If it are possible, be at peace with all men. If possible, but especially the household of the saints, especially the faith. So when you're dealing with these other brothers and sisters, and it's also a way not to have somebody mega rich and a bunch of people poor. Because, okay, you fell into some good times and you got all these servants and they did everything. But at this certain time, they got to go. So then, okay, you had all this, and now you fall back down a little bit, but you're still doing well. But if that didn't happen, it'd be just like this country. You have the 1% that is rich and everybody else is poor because they keep it forever. Nothing is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Judges chapter 6.
And brother, there was an interesting part here in verse
Shotim chapter 6.
On verse 47 where it says, if your brother sell himself unto the stranger, you know, if something ever happened, right, and any immigrant that had came to this country that wasn't brought here as an original slave had to go return to whatever land, my family would have to return to Jamaica. So if I went back to Jamaica and I'm not a landowner and I know I need to eat and I need to do something, I may sell myself unto my brethren, or I may, you know, indenture myself.
Come work with you.
Yeah, look, I'm working with you.
Let me come work on your farm.
Because it was part of the culture here. It said, look, man, we just came back from the U.S. Look, let me humble myself, submit myself unto you. I'm gonna work on your land. But that wasn't his, you know, past to afflict me or to have rigor over me. I'm like, look, bro, I only came so I'm not out here starving. I could come out here and just rob and do all kind of bad stuff.
Or I could eat off the edges of your field for free. But I said, you know what, I'm going to work.
If he's righteous. Because he might say, hey, man, don't touch nothing on my field. Because he might not know the law that you're not supposed to glean the edges of your field. But, you know, I'm submitting myself and I'm going to come work for you. But like I said, doesn't mean that you should exact rigor over me, you know. Don't inflict me. I'm already in a bad situation.
Right.
I want to say something on that.
Go ahead.
You know, even in this country, bro, while we were slaves in this country, if a Gentile or so forth, you know, had to pay some money back, or he did something or something like that, he would work on one of the slave master's fields. And he's not a slave.
Right.
He's just building a little something for him, you know, or working for the vegetables, or he's doing work on the man's land, giving him free labor, but he's paying off his debt. And see, but when he's done, he can go home. He can go back where he come from.
Right.
Or he can stay in the land and make money if the master so wish. You know, he gave a job. But no, not so for our people, you know. So it was a big difference. So you're right about that, brother. You know, I mean, we can do indentured servitude, you know, to pay off our debts. But, you know, I mean, but it changed. It became, well, no, you're a slave forever, you know, for our people, you know. But for the Gentiles, they had a whole other ball game. But you see, they took that out of Scripture. But they didn't take that out of Scripture for our people. They took it for them to benefit off that law, but not us.
Also, brother, I hope, you know, we realize that the period of time we're living in is a time where we are witnesses of this unrighteous servitude, this unrighteous bondage. You know, we're not in the time. It's still unrighteous, whether Martin Luther King's time or the time when they was whipping and hanging us. The whole thing from top to bottom is still unrighteous because we need a loan is still in usury.
That's right.
You know, we're still being oppressed as children of the Almighty.
He's still 1/5 of a man.
Still, and they're gonna call you 1/5 of a man. You know, you're not even or two. You're 2/3 a person or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, so we're witnesses of this history. We're fulfilling prophecy as we sit here and we live and we survive in this land. We are witnesses and examples. The substance of what Yahweh spoke was going to happen to the children of Yasharal.
Yeah.
You know, so when we walk and we go through daily, we shouldn't really look at it as, oh, it's just another day. This is prophecy. You know, and submit yourself unto it, you know, to a certain aspect, but you remember that Yahweh is my creator, and you guys are condemning yourselves every time you do some unrighteousness toward us. He's writing it, and he's gonna repay you unto the 10th generation of the blood of those of the ancestors. You know.
Yeah, but you see the same token you just said. Same token you just said. If our people only understand that concept, then they will stop, let's say, putting themselves in more trouble when they know that the adversary around here is destroying their people for injuring you. You see, so if you know that concept, you will try not to put yourself in that situation where you would have your brother injured because of what you're doing. You know, because they're going to do dirt themselves. But if you put yourself in that position, then you injure your own brother. You know what I mean? Because you know better. And some people put themselves in problems, but they don't know the reason why they're doing it. And they can't see it at that time. But when you see it, that's when you change. You know? So what you said is true, but I want to add that point to that.
And I really wish we could have flew through the study, but there's so many gems
Yes.
in here. There's a lot, especially that Jubilee, that just like opened up a whole another book. But
Trumpets.
but you know, the word says that not only are we suffering for our father's iniquities, are we going to pine away in them, we're going to suffer for our own fathers.
Right.
You know, your father's father, all that generation. So you're suffering for something you ain't do yet.
Right.
But you're suffering for what you're doing.
That's
And
right.
it's one thing to suffer for the stuff you do, like, man, I got that. But if you haven't done any unrighteousness, you're still going to suffer because you have a curse that's upon you that you're going to have to bear anyway. There's some kind of injustice you're going to have to bear from the rip. So you're already at a handicap.
Right.
So why complicate, why even compound your burden in this land by not following the righteous laws of Yahweh so that you could be at least, you know, relieved of some of this oppression, some of this.
Look how it works. You know, you suffering for your father's sins, the generational curses. They have nothing to do with you, but you are also suffering for your own sins because the sins that you're doing, a lot of them were from lack of knowledge.
Right.
And that lack of knowledge was your forefathers' problems. So it's a compounding effect that's happening because you're committing. You're saying, well, I didn't make that covenant. I didn't transgress that covenant back there in the wilderness. I didn't do that. But yet you're doing transgression now, which you physically did, and it doesn't matter whether you know better or not. You still doing it. There still has to be a punishment because he has to punish you so you can learn how to do the right way.
That's right.
So it's just a compounded effect. Now, once you get past that, now add the things that you do know is wrong.
Right.
And then you're doing that. So before you even get to that level, you've got so many things that you're just on pure mercy. And for that reason, you have to be compassionate to your brother because you want Yahweh to be compassionate with you.
Right.
And now we can see why we're a byword unto the nations, because it's complexing to even the government, all the prognosticators they have in there to, you know, how's the economy doing. They look at the Asian, they look at, you know, all the other races, look who, they like, something's plaguing the black community.
Yeah,
you know,
you're
they wonder,
playing.
now, and I wish they had known this word. Say, look, now you can know what's plaguing the black community because we don't really serve you. We serve the Almighty. You feel me? When it says all these diseases that's going to come upon you, I'm going to give you all the plagues of Mitzrayim, Egypt, and you know, you're going to fall victim, you know, to the oppressor. You're going to fall into your enemy's hands. You're not going to have no strength to deliver yourself. Whereas you see the Asian or the Indian come into the land, you know, whichever, there could be Shem, the Indians could be Shem. They come into the land, set up a store, they fine. Their kids go straight to Harvard.
There you go.
You feel me? So
They good. Yeah, because they're not under this covenant. They just have to somewhat walk in righteousness. They're not under these laws. These laws are of holiness that apply to us. It's going to eventually apply to them. But right now, they just need to be under the spirit of the law with certain things. Whereas we have to follow these laws because he's like, look, I have to get you right. Or else I'm going to have to deal with, I'm going to have to kill all these other people off. Because who's going to teach them? You have to teach them. And I don't take pleasure in killing the people of this creation. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Oh, also correcting that issue. Just correcting the issue we mentioned about is 3/5 of a human being. That's who we are.
Right.
The Constitution
It takes two of you to equal one.
That's right. So that's the predicament that we're in.
3/5 a person.
And what Huckabee or whatever, Mike Huckabee or whatever, the Republican guy, he just argued on a show the other day. Said no, that's still the law of the land. With what's his name? Crispus Attucks, was it? What was the guy? No, Dred Scott. With Dred Scott, no, that's still the law of the land. You're not a human being.
Right.
You are less than a human being. Right. So all that law stuff don't apply to you. And he fought and argued on the radio in 2015 that is still valid. And they try to say, oh no, the 14th Amendment cleared that up. Oh no, it didn't.
No, it did not.
No, it didn't. If that was the case, they wouldn't have to make that other voting rights act and all that stuff to enforce that law.
Right.
Because you got to make another statute to enforce something to make that statute enforced. Lets you know that amendment does not protect you.
Every 10 years they had to vote that we can get a right to vote.
Right. That's right. That's why they have the color of law. That's why they have 24, some black male running. Because
human running.
they're giving you a color. The color of law establishes that you are property. You're not a human being.
Right. You have more authority to shoot and kill him.
Oh yeah.
It's just
like the deers, deer we hunt.
Yeah, it's just an animal running down the street.
Mm-hmm. And you look at, it's interesting, you look at the history of the slave catchers and everything. What did they wear? They wore that same star rim fan.
That's right.
Same thing, looked like the pomegranate leaf. Just like it, right on the slave catcher. Numbers. All right, so we're at Judges chapter 6. So we just read about the shofar, the horn. When the shofar of the ram's horn is being blown, you're seeing a lot of spiritual things going on, law stuff going on. When you see the metal trumpet being blown, that's usually for, like what we saw earlier, for gathering the people, for the war, for the calling, you know, the individuals to come to assemble and things of that nature. But when it comes down to the spiritual, the priestly aspect stuff, we're seeing the ram's horn being used for the Jubilee, for the blowing it over, the shofar over your sacrifices and your offerings and all that. So now we're starting to see a little differentiation in that metal horn versus that organic horn. Judges chapter 6, and Judges, I believe, is Shotim. Double check that. Is it Shotim? Okay. Shotim, Judges chapter 6, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And the children of Yasharal did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years.
So, okay, here's some Shemites, that we, you know, some colored people that we are delivered into their hands. But we only remember the Euro-Gentile. That's all we remember. So we all our affliction is all based on Euro-Gentile. But you see here, when the children of Yasharal did evil in the sight of Yahweh, we were delivered into whoever Yahweh was going to use as our backside. To be the belt to our backside at this time. And this is Midian. Moshe's father-in-law was a Midianite priest. And now we delivered unto these people. And you notice 7 years. He didn't start out, say, 430 years of captivity. He started out with these little things.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And the hand of Midian prevailed against Yasharal, and because of the Midianites, the children of Yasharal made them the dens which are in the mountains, and caves, and strongholds. And so it was, when Yasharal had sown, that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites, and the children of the east, even they came up against them. And they encamped against them, and destroyed the increase of the earth, till you come unto Gaza, and left no sustenance for Yasharal, neither sheep, nor ox, nor donkey. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for the multitude. For both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Yasharal was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Yasharal cried unto Yahweh. And it came to pass, when the children of Yasharal cried unto Yahweh because of the Midianites, that Yahweh sent a prophet unto the children of Yasharal, which said unto them, Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Yasharal, I brought you up from Mitzrayim, and brought you forth out of the house of bondage. And I delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites, and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drave them out from before you, and gave you their land.
So verse 8 is where you see Mizraim being called the house of bondage. So Mizraim doesn't mean house of bondage literally, but it is being called the house of bondage here, verse 8. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And I said unto you, I am Yahweh your Elohim. Fear not the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice. And there came an angel, a Melech of Yahweh, and sat under an oak, which was in Ophrah, that pertained unto Joash the Abizrite. And his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him and said unto him, Yahweh is with you, you mighty man of valor. And Gideon said unto him, O my master, if Yahweh be with us, why then is all this befallen us? And where be all his miracles which our fathers told us of, saying, did not Yahweh bring us up from Mizraim? But now Yahweh has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites.
So at least he knew who Yahweh was. He knew what Yahweh did. So he understood Yahweh's Shem. He understood his fame. And he understood what could be done. And he's saying, where are you people? So this is the same situation that Moshe had to deal with. When they asked him, well, who's this Yahweh? Tell us about him. Tell us his name, his Shem. Tell us about his fame. Because we don't know this guy. Because they were in captivity so long that they had forgotten about who he was. 430 years is enough time to forget about how great Yahweh was. So in this situation, he already knew the fame of Yahweh. They didn't have to explain who Yahweh was and what he did and how he freed us from Egypt. Because they had this. Up until this point, they didn't have that. All they heard was, oh, Yahweh chose Abraham and Isaac and Yaakov. They didn't have, we were delivered from Egypt. Mizraim, we didn't have, oh, they came down and did all these plagues. They didn't have that. So now that makes sense why they would be asking, what is his name? Tell us about him. And what is his Shem is a better way to use that. Because name is just an appellation in English. But here, what is his fame? Tell us about this Elohim of Yasharal. Let us know. So he had an opportunity to say, well, where is this Yahweh that's been doing all this? But he knew him. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And Yahweh looked upon him and said, go in this your might, and you shall save Yasharal from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent you? And he said unto him, O Yahweh, wherewith shall I save Yasharal? Behold, my family is poor in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And Yahweh said unto him, surely I will be with you, and you shall smite the Midianites as one man. And he said unto him, if now I have found grace in your sight, then show me a sign that you talk with me. Depart not here, I pray you, until I come unto you, and bring forth my present, and set it before you. And he said, I will tarry until you come again.
And Yahshua said, you wicked generation, you always require a sign. You're requiring a sign because you don't believe. You don't have faith. You can ask, well, what is your name? You know, show me your name. Show me your power. You know, how do I know this is Yahweh? Okay. But when you talk about, oh, you know, all this, show me these signs and all this stuff, it's because you don't believe. You should already know Yahweh when you're in his presence. Because there ain't going to be no confusion, and it's going to be lawful, and it's going to be powerful, and you're going to be terrified. The adversary, the devil comes, it's going to be confusing. Wait a minute. But I thought, why if you Christ and you returning, why am I only seeing you? I thought everybody was supposed to see you. But you got to know that. You got to know the prophecies. You got to know the book. And there'll be confusion there. Then you said, nah, something's not right here. But this is why Yahshua said, you wicked generation seek after a sign. If you were a generation of faith, you wouldn't need that sign because you already know Yahshua. You already know Yahweh. This is just like they say, oh, show us the Father and it suffice. How you didn't know? What you mean? You looking at it. You looking at the Father. You looking at the Father and the Son. You can't tell already by this righteousness that I'm speaking to you? By this Spirit? Your Spirit is not confirming this? Go ahead, brother.
On the same token, what you just said is what Yahshua was talking about us now. He said, because they had him there in the flesh. And they, you know, some did not believe on him, and they saw the miracles that was done. He said, but what about the people, you know, I'm only prefacing the way, the meaning of it, who's not going to see me, who's going to have faith and believe on this word, who was not here. You understand? This is our generation. We're believing on these words. We're believing what's in this book, on our Father and our Messiah. And we was not in his presence. We were not there at that time.
Right.
But yet we are, how you say, illustrating and using the faith that he put inside of us. He is allowing us to bring that faith out, to believe in this word. Right. You know? So praise Yah. Because we basically are fulfilling something that he said was going to happen. You know?
Go ahead, bro.
Verse 19. And Gideon went in and made ready a kid, and unleavened cakes, and an ephah of flour. The flesh he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and brought it out unto him under the oak, and presented it. And the angel of Elohim said unto him, Take the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and lay them upon this rock, and pour out the broth. And he did so. Then the angel of Yahweh put forth the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the flesh and the unleavened cakes, and there rose up fire out of the rock, and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Then the angel of Yahweh departed out of his sight. And when Gideon perceived that he was an angel of Yahweh, Gideon said, Alas, O my sovereign Yahweh, for because I have seen an angel of Yahweh face to face. And Yahweh said unto him, Peace be unto you, fear not, you shall not die. Then Gideon built an altar there unto Yahweh, and called it Yahweh Shalom. Unto this day it is yet in Ophrah, because Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass the same night that Yahweh said unto him, Take your father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the grove that is by it. And build an altar unto Yahweh your Elohim upon the top of this rock in the ordered place, and take the second bullock and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the grove, which you shall cut down. Then Gideon took 10 men of his servants, and did as Yahweh said unto him. And so it was, because he feared his father's household and the men of the city, that he could not do it by day, that he did it by night.
So Yahweh is asking him to start doing repentance for Yasharal. Okay, you're going to have to establish a complete separation between your father's works and your earthly father's works and your works. Cut down that stuff that he got, all his fake gods and all that. Make a stand against this. Show that you are not like him, so that now I can bless you, because now I won't be a respecter of persons, because you're doing the same thing as your father, and now I'm using you to deliver the children of Yasharal. No, there's got to be a separation. You got to separate from that sin. Cut this stuff down. And he had to do it in fear. He had to trust Yahweh and was scared of the recompense, the earthly recompense. It's the same thing that we have to go in this word as well. When we come in this word, we got to go against our mothers and fathers. And it's confusing at first, because you're like, well, honor my father and my mother. This is not honoring them. They're upset with me that I'm not being Catholic. But wait a minute. Who is your father and your mother? Who's your spiritual father? Yahshua tells you, call no man your father. So he's not saying don't call your dad your father. He doesn't mean that. But don't put nobody in that place of the Holy Father, the one, the true. And they turn around on earth, the Catholics, and call a man, a Gentile, a Euro-Gentile, the Holy Father.
Thank you.
Brother, right there, you see how oftentimes when, men of Yahweh do stuff like this, where, instead of doing it in the day, people see they do it at night. Or instead of letting everybody know that this is my girl, I'm going to say it's my sister. Like, I'll think about, what if they just did the thing? What if they told me, hey, this is my wife, now what? Or if they went, if he did it by day and decided everyone. Or, and then
they have to choose another servant.
And then I think about, Yohanan the Baptist, when he told, was it Herod or whoever it was, not that he couldn't see his wife, and he was beheaded.
That was
Philip, I think it was. Yeah, it was Herod, but
it was Herod, but
Philip's his brother Philip's wife.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, with that, I know Yahweh is more than able to deliver anyone out of their affliction, because when Saul and Peter was in jail broke.
Yeah.
And no one was able to lay a hand to kill these men, whether or not they hear or forbear, whether they say what they wanted to do. So I'm wondering, when Yohanan the Baptist was killed in that, that Yahweh let it happen, so that he's like, what, you see these people, it's like a testament. Even though he was beheaded for testimony.
And what are the first people raised up?
People under the altar.
Under the
altar.
So there's got to be somebody that needs to be, the 144 got to be with them. You got to have special people. So if that's how you chosen, that's what you chosen for.
And even like how Stephen was stoned, when people are doing righteous things and they're persecuted for it, you know, other people will look and say, oh, Yahweh, how can he be righteous if he let a servant die about that? But they don't understand that sometimes Yahweh is like, yo, I just need something to happen to convict these wicked people. Do something to seal your wicked testimony. His righteous testimony is sealed. But let me see this wicked testimony get sealed, so I have a reason to just smite, even though I behold the wickedness in their heart. Because Cain wasn't really a transgressor.
Other people to see the wickedness too, to say, you know what,
That's right.
I'm not like that. That's not for me. Or, you know what, yeah, that's right. Cut his head off. So let people see what's in their own hearts as well.
And then that too. And then there's action that when you actually do something, like Yahweh could have been like, oh, you're a priest and everybody's forgiven. But no, there had to be works done. Kill this. Spray the blood. You know, works had to be done. So even though Yahweh saw that something wrong with Cain's heart, he didn't automatically just put a mark on him and say, you're banished. Nah, he rebuked him, told him what was wrong, and then what was in Cain's heart was sealed when he killed his brother. He sealed his wicked testimony. Then Yahweh was like, all right, now I could do what I need to do. I'm about to put a mark on you. Your brother's blood cries out. There's a testimony that's been brought up against you. And this is a righteous judge. You know, so Yahweh be letting certain stuff happen. And we'll look at him like, I don't understand. This is a righteous person. Or this is... But sometimes Yahweh, there's a lot more going on in the courts of heaven and we understand. But sometimes these things, it's like the gavel has to be, like he's ready to hit the gavel, like, let me see what's going on. Y'all gonna behead him? Boom! You know, that the gavel is hit. You have your righteous testimony. There's the case closed. Y'all case has been open. There's wicked judgment about to be testified against you. So, y'all, there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Go ahead, bro.
See, that you said a mouthful. And that's basically a whole nother class, because that's so deep. But y'all see, people don't look at, majority of people don't look at all those different people we just talked about.
No.
They only look at Judas Iscariot the most.
Right.
You know, even make a movie about it. Well, maybe it was a different situation. You know, he wanted to make the Messiah do what he wanted to do. You understand? So that's why he went, hey, it doesn't matter what the deal is on that. The deal is that he did not wish to obey the Messiah. He wished to follow Satan, because Satan entered into him. So because he wished to follow Satan, he became his father. That's why Yeshua said to his father, all the ones that you have sent me, I've taken care of, except for the one, Judas Iscariot, the son of perdition. Because he knew that that was the one right there that was going to be used as a how you say, a vessel of this
part of that. He said, so that the what? So that the scriptures could be fulfilled.
Yeah,
right. So these wicked people that are chopping people's heads off and all those, the scriptures need to be fulfilled.
That's right.
People have to be beheaded for Yahshua's sake. They have to die in righteousness. So that people like us around who's not dying right now can say, people around like us that are not dying can read about people say, man, how could I sit here and not keep this Shabbat when this guy died for righteousness, got his head chopped off, for telling, for rebuking somebody, not even for not doing something or doing something. So that emboldens me to work on those little things within my life that I need to work on, because I'm like, this brother died. This brother over here, you know, was an elder his whole life, like in the Apocrypha, Maccabees, and refused to eat pork and said, no, I'm just going to have to die. Yeah. So how can I turn around and eat this gelatin that has pork in it?
There you go.
Because I'm like, this my ancestor died. So that stuff is supposed to embolden us as well, so that the scriptures could be fulfilled, that we would look at our own actions and be ashamed.
And brother, with Gideon now, imagine if he did it in the daytime and everyone probably came against him. Yahweh could just let him die there. He could. Or he could say, I'm going to show them and I'm going to deliver you the same way how Elijah, when all the men came up from, I don't know if it was from Jezebel, I don't remember who sent them. They kept coming up to the mount, and then he'll say, I don't know what he said to them, but all I remember is that fire was devouring troops and troops of men. Just whoosh, whoosh, because he wasn't scared, you know. And then he's like, come on, you know, cry out to your Allah, cry out to your God. Cut yourself some more, get some more blood. And then when it came his time, the fire came, burnt up the meat was on there, and licked up the water on the outside. Like Yahweh could show his glory. Right. Yeah. So if we're not afraid, you know, but he meets us where we are though. He did it that night, but Yahweh, I guess Yahweh didn't impute as a righteousness to him. But he dealt with them to the faithful. He showed himself faithful to the cowardly. You know, he'll deal with them and say, you know, be strong, take courage.
Right. There's one point you said about Gideon too, brother. He didn't realize it, or maybe he did. But when he had talked to the angel had told him to do a certain thing, pour out the broth.
Yeah.
And the reason he didn't explain it to him, but also you have to understand that the angel had him, he was supposed to do something, but also he's standing in the angel's presence. And he told to pour out that broth because that broth had blood on it. It will make him unclean. And he had a job to do. He had to take care of business. But he didn't have to explain it to him then, but maybe later on he learned why he had to pour out that broth. But at the time, I guess he didn't realize it. He didn't even know it.
Oh, and if these are Hamite, I know that there are Hamite nations that when they slaughter a bull, they catch the blood in a pot, and it's kept to them. And that's a custom that went on for a long time. I don't know if the Canaanites may have kept that or
they kept that.
Yeah, so they ate the food with blood.
So they drank the blood, and it says how he went in and made ready a kid. He had 11 kids, but he put the flesh in the basket